Mr. Blake Moret.
Well, I can't tell you how excited I am to be with you today on what is really a very special moment for Rockwell Automation. I'm going to make some remarks that are taken from a presentation that I made at Georgia Tech a couple of months ago, but there will also be a few new things that we talk about here this morning. To start with, Rockwell Automation's entire strategy, everything we do, is about bringing the connected enterprise to life. We integrate control and information across the enterprise to help industrial companies and their people to be more productive. So the whole company is focused on that singular objective to bring productivity to companies that make stuff, from discrete to hybrid to process across all the continents. And we think that that efficiency is something that sets us apart. When we look at the market, one of the things that we've talked about for some time now is how the growth of the middle class across the world is really driving more demand for the things that we help produce. So whether it's more choice in food, it's cleaner drinking water, it's pharmaceuticals to help people live longer and healthier lives, more automobiles, of course. All of those things are important to us, and we're right there in the middle of those producers' efforts to make things faster and a higher quality and less expensively. We also know that one of the key trends is the growing skills gap, because the technology that's required for these companies to be their best requires certain skills that are in really short demand. And the people who help build those manufacturing dynasties are getting close to retirement age. And so that skills gap is a real thing. And I can tell you that as I talk to customers, for the first time, it's becoming a gating item in terms of how fast that they can get their projects up and going. And we'll talk in a few minutes about some of the things that Rockwell is doing to help. Global supply chains linking together various parts of individual enterprises with other enterprises around the world to be able to pick the very best to create an overall offering that's most competitive is just a reality. Spanning countries across multiple businesses, we're seeing that, and it drives new requirements for connectivity across different systems, across the design and operate and maintain life cycles. And from a technology standpoint, I think we could summarize a lot of what we're dealing with, what we're all dealing with the convergence of information technology with operational technology. A lot of manufacturers and other producers are looking for ways to be able to create the mass customization of their products, to be able to produce at scale, but to be able to personalize it to meet their customers' demands. And so that requires enormous flexibility. Reducing setup time. I think after avoiding unplanned downtime, the reduction of setup time and the tact time in those processes is one of the best ways to drive a return on investment in the manufacturing space. And then optimized workflows, because even in the most highly automated facilities, there's still a human element, and we'll talk more about that as well. Rockwell's an automation company, but people are still our most important asset. And the technology that we create for our own factories and for yours is useless unless the people are comfortable with it and can interact with it in an efficient way. Our way to help these companies bring all this together to help them become more competitive is the connected enterprise. It's a combination of technology as well as expertise, ours as well as our partners, integrating the real-time control and visualization that we've come to be known for with the information side to help drive another order of magnitude of productivity by taking the data that's a natural byproduct of those production processes and turning it into useful information. We do it across a wide variety of vertical industries, whether it's process, pumping oil through pipes, automobile assembly, and also, really importantly, it's scalable. We know that all the data doesn't need to go to the cloud. It shouldn't go to the cloud in all cases. That's an important part of it. But if you're trying to protect a plant floor device from overheating, then sometimes you have to close that loop right on the device itself. And there's certainly a lot that comes from edge processing. And Frank and others are going to demonstrate different concepts of that as we go forward in the morning. It's guided by our knowledge of the industry. The stuff doesn't just fit together without people who understand the process guiding that integration. So when we talk about our approach to bringing the connected enterprise to life, three key concepts. There's an understanding of the end customer's best opportunities for productivity that has to be there. There's the combination of the expertise and the innovation. A lot of times that manifests itself in terms of subscriptions that provide the software as well as the support, because the business models are changing as well. And then finally, and most importantly, it's the simplification. For Rockwell, simplification drives our own efficiency, and a lot of that is based on that single integrated business, a single multidiscipline Logix platform. For customers, simplification drives unnecessary cost out. It's the tack time, it's the huge amounts of WIP that can be avoided by the things that we provide. And we're doing it today. We're doing it at the devices on plant floors. We're doing it on lines, and we're doing it across enterprises. We're going to talk about some things that are going to help accelerate our ability to provide that to an even wider variety of customers going forward. So I mentioned before that a lot of these comments were based on a presentation that I did at Georgia Tech a couple of months ago. That in turn was based on a presentation that I did right after I got out of school in 1987, and it was about the factory of the future. And in a lapse of records retention policy, I held on to that paper. And it was okay. It wasn't great, I have to tell you. There were some things that I got right in it. There were some things I got wrong, including a typo that I didn't notice until I actually gave the more recent presentation. But as we look at some of the overriding themes over the last 30 years, we certainly have seen the continued proliferation of programmable controllers and computer numerical control and robots, reducing repetitive physical labor that was previously done by people. And that's continued, and that, of course, has been a big part of Rockwell's success. And it's one of the reasons that we've seen productivity continue on an upward trend across a wide variety of industries for that period of time. There are also some things that I certainly didn't see then. I think were a bit of a surprise to the rest of the world as well. The rise of IT. When you look at the market capitalizations of some pretty big players today, Apple, Microsoft, Cisco, $5 billion or less. Some of those companies weren't really even on the map at that time, and they're on the map today. Mobility is something that we really didn't see coming at that time. Cell phones weren't widely available. The amount of computing power ubiquitously available in the palm of your hand. It's old news now, but we didn't really see it there, and that's certainly changing our landscape. Safety continues to be really important. It was important then, and it remains important, particularly as emerging economies industrialize. And the pace of change, and this is an important theme because it's not just about the technology. At that time, we were talking about Moore's Law and so on in terms of microprocessor innovation, but the pace of change accelerated by new business models. So it's not just about getting something that everybody knows is going to be important to the market faster. It's coming up with new ways to serve needs that are that amazingly potent mix of technology and other forms of innovation. It has impact, of course, on the workforce. I get asked all the time, so what does automation mean for jobs going forward? Let's start with the premise that companies have to continue to innovate to compete successfully against their very best competitors around the world. If you don't accept that premise, then a lot of this doesn't work. But let's just for the moment think that that's important, that you have to be able to continue to innovate. There are parts of jobs that will be impacted. But the success that comes from blending the technology with harnessing the best that comes from our workers in terms of decision-making skills creates more success that allows for capacity expansions, which require jobs, as well as giving companies the bandwidth to invest in new lines of business and new innovation. So if you want to just keep doing exactly the same thing in exactly the same way, then I don't know that we can help you. I can't help you. But if you recognize that that continued innovation is going to be required and it comes with the territory, then there's a bright future for all of us. The workforce development, of course, is critically important. A lot of the biggest needs today have to do with technician-level jobs, people who understand the application, but are also comfortable with the technology. Cross-training, to be able to have people who are able to do different jobs on a plant floor, creates that additional flexibility. And Rockwell's doing some significant things to help address those needs. It starts early, and so we're heavy supporters of FIRST robotics to get young people comfortable with the technology. And I'll tell you, if you have ever been to a FIRST robotics competition and to see the utterly amazing things that those students are already doing, you should try to see that. As people move through their education and take different paths, an important untapped part of the workforce is returning veterans. And many of you have heard about our Academy of Advanced Manufacturing, which provides returning veterans who have great fundamental skills with the hands-on experience to immediately, after a relatively short course, a 12-week course, to be able to get those technician jobs. Whether they have a high school degree, 2-year or 4-year degrees, we've seen success at all levels. We're going to graduate 150 of those veterans by the end of this year, and our goal is to have the capacity to bring 1,000 veterans through that course on an annual basis. There's nothing that I've done in my career that I'm prouder of than what our company has done to stand up this program. And so, 3 key themes on workforce development. It's lifelong learning, it's outcome-based education, and it's the partnerships between learning centers, wherever they are, and the manufacturers so you can fit the curriculum to what's going to be required going forward. Let's move a little bit to another macro trend, and that is the sharing economy. You don't have to necessarily own everything. We see that already in the business models that are evolving in manufacturing. One of the impacts of the IT-OT convergence is not just the technology, but it's also some of the IT buying practices that are moving closer to the part of the enterprise that's not carpeted, to the manufacturing and the production areas. And so we see that in terms of subscriptions, we see it as product as a service, platform as a service, business as a service, pick your flavor. And we're already seeing that have a significant opportunity in our business. In the parts of our offering that are closest to that convergence of IT and OT, significant amounts of what we're selling are in the form of subscriptions and even in the product area looking like leases. Another impact of the sharing economy is the focus on differentiated capabilities rather than raw scale. So the technology is leveling the playing field. It's not just about being the biggest so that you can buy copper cheaper. That's certainly a piece of it, but the innovation and the ability to be nimble and to take advantage of new technology that may not always have been created in your own shop is really important, because there's lots of flows of innovation out there. And that's why we talk about certainly a strong investment in our own capabilities, but also our partnering and our M&A activity. It's such a wide field of technology that's important to harness to help bring productivity in the industrial world. There's artificial intelligence, there's augmented reality, computing surfaces at the edge, in the cloud. And as I mentioned before, we're going to address this through a combination of our own capabilities as well as those with great partners to find innovation across a really broad landscape. And so with that, it's my pleasure to bring up an important new partner for us, Mr. Jim Heppelman, CEO of PTC. Hey, Jim.
Great to be here.
Great to have you. It is great.
I think this is IT and OT convergence happening right here.
Right here. Yes, it is. You're seeing it before your very eyes. It's a natural alignment for our companies to get together in this way. And I am thrilled to be able to announce this first and to stand up on this stage together at a customer event. I think that's where it should start. You know, we have heard, each of us, from customers as we've talked to them about, hey, why don't you guys get together? And in fact, in a couple of cases, we're actually working together. And I think it's more eloquent than anything we could say, gosh darn, should happen. But when we're being asked by manufacturers themselves, hey, why don't you get together? As they're starting to imagine the possibilities. And I am wondering, you know, there may be a few of you out there that are already starting to imagine the possibilities of what we could do together to help solve your problems. So I think it's a great start and a real opportunity for us.
On behalf of PTC, I mean, we're super excited to be partnered with Rockwell. I mean, there's a lot of things we can do on our own, but when I look at the combination and what Rockwell brings in terms of technology and expertise and people and customers, I mean, it's just amazing if you add your strengths and our strengths together and represent them as a combined strength to customers, just how strong and compelling that story is going to be.
I mean, the ThingWorx user interface is so easy to use, and it's so flexible. And when you look at combining that with our FactoryTalk analytics, and you look at our joint capabilities in terms of taking data from so many applications and so many devices, we have the most comprehensive, flexible information solutions offering in the industry. It's that simple.
We certainly do. I mean, we're going to be able to tell a story that really is IoT and analytics and MES and augmented and virtual reality. And if you want to throw in some 3D printing and additive manufacturing, you can do that too. And I think just bringing these strengths together is going to produce something that, like you said, is unheard of in the marketplace.
I mean, we each bring a really vibrant ecosystem of partners with us, and the opportunity to bring those worlds together, just as you said. I mean, to see IT and OT play out at this kind of level before your very eyes, I think we're witnessing what I mentioned before is a very special day in our journey.
Certainly a very big day for PTC, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, me too. You know,
So
maybe just to talk a little bit about
let me tell people a little bit about PTC and what we're doing and how we envision that fitting with Rockwell. So first, if I draw your attention to the logo for PTC, it's actually a yin-yang symbol with a black P for the word physical on top of a green D for the word digital. And if we switch to this true yin-yang symbol then on the sides here, what you see is PTC's heritage really started in the digital world. We pioneered the concept of 3D solid modeling 30 years ago. And 20 years ago, we pioneered the concept of web-based product lifecycle management. And these technologies were all about how do engineering teams and even supply chains collaborate in the digital world to come up with very accurate digital prototypes of something that will ultimately be physical. But we don't want to cross that line too soon because it gets very hard to change things once they are in their physical form, whereas it's very easy to change them in the digital form. But sooner or later, you actually do want that thing to become a real physical product. So what do? Well, typically you produce it in a factory. And of course, that's where Rockwell comes in because Rockwell has the technologies to help that factory work. And so now we have a physical product. And that really switches now from our heritage in CAD and PLM to what we've been doing for the last 5 years with our innovation platform, which is IoT and augmented reality technologies under the brands of ThingWorx and Vuforia. So to me, IoT is about bringing data, if you kind of go to the 1 o'clock position, capturing data from the physical world and bringing this OT data across the boundary into the digital world. And frankly, we want to go get some other IT data from ERP systems, CRM systems, MES systems, what have you, and really be able to combine what we know from the OT world with what we know from the IT world and create what we call a contextualization, sort of an understanding of how this all fits together so we have the complete picture. Then we want to take that combined OT-IT view and hand it over to FactoryTalk Analytics and say, dear analytics, please tell us what's going on here because some of this raw data, to the naked eye doesn't mean that much, but when you apply machine learning and analytics to it, you begin to see things that are really good and sometimes Mr. T rubble and things that are really bad. So if you see something that's bad, for example, you need to take action. And that's what we mean by orchestrate. So ThingWorx has a orchestration engine. That's sort of a type of workflow, but in particular workflow across systems, IT and OT systems. So ThingWorx says, okay, based on that alert I got from FactoryTalk Analytics, I know what I need to do. Maybe I need to figure out how Microsoft Dynamics or some field service automation system can dispatch a truck with a technician in the right parts. Or maybe I need to talk to an OT system and cause something to happen. So we're orchestrating both IT and OT and, frankly, combined responses to things we found. And then sometimes, in order to really orchestrate a response, we need to engage people. And so how do we engage people? Well, ThingWorx has great tools for building web and mobile user interfaces, if you will, dashboards and whatnot, applications, to deliver information in the right context to people playing different roles. What's really interesting is the use of augmented and virtual reality. Because if you think of augmented reality, it really means taking information from the digital world back into the physical world and overlaying it on what you see in the physical world. So we have in our Vuforia platform some amazing technology to do augmented and virtual reality. Wearing a HoloLens or frankly even using a phone or a tablet, you can do just amazing things. So again, I think when you look at this whole picture, the OT presence and expertise that's deep within Rockwell Automation's heritage, combined with our Kepware technology, with Microsoft's cloud solutions, with Rockwell Automation's IT proficiency in things like Factory Talk Analytics, combined with orchestration and then AR and VR that we can deliver, by the way, on the Microsoft HoloLens. This is an unmatched story in the industry. And I'm so proud to have this partnership with Rockwell Automation and the strength of Rockwell Automation invested in PTC so that we can go do some amazing things together.
Yeah. Looking forward to getting started today, and I can't think of a better place to do it together. So we're going to do some things that the industry, I think, is going to find amazing. From an investor standpoint, obviously, we fully believe that it's going to drive significant increased growth for us both as well.
Yeah, for sure. And Blake's going to be joining our board of directors, so I wanted to ask you in that context, do I have to call you boss now?
Not yet.
All right, great.
So, yeah. This is something that's all about solving customer needs right now, and we're working together on the applications that customers have told us they'd like to see us work together on. And so when we look at it in our world, in the Rockwell world, information solutions and connected services, it's something that we expect to more than double our current business over the next 4 years. And I know because this is what PTC is all about, then just can't wait to get started together.
Absolutely, we're super excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great partnership for both of us.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, great.
Thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Thanks, Jim. As I make just a couple of additional comments, we're doing a lot of things that we're excited about in terms of the technology and in terms of the people. And some of this is an evolution of Rockwell Automation's culture. But I want to tell you that we continue to do things in the same way that we've done for a long, long time. And that has to do with winning the right way and focusing on long-term value. And so our ethical approach to doing business, the importance we place on the communities that we work and live in is something that remains rock solid and constant through all of this change. Because it is about the people. It's about the employees in Rockwell, our partners, our customers, and it's also about the leadership. And I'll finish with one of the other things that makes this such a special day is some of the organizational changes that complement the other things that we're announcing. And so we talk about everything we do being related to the connected enterprise. And so we have created an enterprise-level connected enterprise consulting function, be effective the beginning of July, as Bob Murphy, who's been running our operations, our worldwide operations, moves over, still reporting directly to me as a senior vice president, to lead that consulting function. Because we know that it's a blend of customer empathy as well as the experience in actual manufacturing operations that's so important to customers who are looking for somebody to help them better define their problems as they embark on their connected enterprise journey. Mike Laskowitz replaces Murph in the lead operations role. And the other change, there's some other changes that you can read about, but the other important one that I want to mention now is that Frank Kulisheritz moves over from leading the A&S architecture and software segment to the control products and solutions segment. And this is the most eloquent demonstration that I can provide of showing the importance to us of combining the technology with the expertise in the solutions that actually produce the positive business outcomes. I said before, the stuff doesn't just come together without any people guiding the implementation of it. And so demonstrating that importance is one of the things that's prompted this change, as Ted Crandall has announced his intention after an amazing run in a variety of executive roles for Rockwell to retire around the end of the year. So Frank replaces Ted, and then Fran Wlodarczyk moves into the A&S lead role. He's previously been running our control and visualization business. So there's some other changes, but those are the ones I'll get into now, since it is my pleasure to introduce Frank Kulaszewicz to talk to you next. Thank you very much.